This is my favorite example of the whole framework. We can create digital stamp cards with the PassKit framework. And essentially it works like this. So again, you go to a store somewhere where you can collect stamps. You can, when you purchase something, scan the QR code. Then the POS system sends an update to your server. The server knows, well, the customer purchased something and then sends out an update notification to Apple Wallet. And then Apple Wallet automatically updates the card, and that's how the image changes then from 1 present or 3 burgers to 2 presents or 4 burgers, for example. And the very interesting thing about this is, if you make it digital, you can collect way more advanced analytics and business intelligence. With the digital ones, you know exactly how many there are because they're generated by your servers. And you also know how many customers have how many stamps collected, so you know exactly how effective your stamp card campaigns are, and you also know then your most loyal customers. Okay, so that was the pretty pictures part, and now we're coming to the pretty code side of things, or the technical side of things. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm happy that so many of you are still here, even though it's already quite late. So I'm here to talk about PassKit, and PassKit is essentially a framework from Apple to turn these thingies from physical tickets into digital tickets. Wow, it's irritating that they're clapping, but they're not listening to me. So first, a few words about myself. I'm Jonas. I'm a Google developer expert for Dart and Flutter. At the moment, I'm working for MediaMarkt and Saturn, or here in Italy, it's better known as MediaWorld. And I'm based in the wonderful country of Germany. Next to my day job, I'm also a passionate open source developer. And as such, I've developed a Flutter favorite package, which is called Feedback. And it allows you to collect feedback by essentially scribbling on the application, then taking a screenshot and sending it to a backend of your choice. I'm also the author of the PassKit packages, which I'm telling you about in this talk. Yeah, that's it about me. And what are we going to learn in this talk? So first, I'm explaining to you what PassKit is, what it can do, some, I think, quite interesting exemplary applications of it. And then in the end, I also have some code examples prepared. Or in other words, first we take a look at pretty pictures and then at pretty code. So as said, with PassKit, we turn these thingies from physical things into digital cards that you can collect in the Apple Wallet. So I think most of you probably know what Apple Wallet is, but essentially it allows you to keep all your tickets, coupons, loyalty cards, or whatever on your phone in the Apple Wallet. Google also has something similar. It also keeps the passes automatically up to date, so they can be updated just like your average app. Apple Wallet can also do digital car keys, payments, and a bunch more, but we're not going to talk about that. Cool. So there are multiple types of passes and cards we can add to the Apple Wallet. In total, there are 5. We're starting with boarding passes. So essentially it's your entry ticket to, for example, in this case, a plane travel. And that was also my first real touch with the whole topic. Last year I had to travel to our Barcelona office at work. And for the travel I got a digital ticket to board the plane, which was actually this one we're seeing here. The cool thing about that is that because it's digital, Apple Wallet can send you push notifications about updates for your flight, which you're seeing on the right side. So you can, for example, get boarding updates, or if the gate changes, you get gate change, push notification updates, and also for a bunch of other information, it can do push notifications. But it doesn't just work for plane tickets. We can also do bus tickets, boat tickets, train tickets, or if nothing else matches, we can also, well, show a generic arrow. I think Apple should add one for space travel, though. The next type is a coupon. Think like a voucher, gift card, or something like that. You can use it, go to the point of sale where you're buying something, scan it, and then, well, your price gets discounted. On these types of cards, we can also show push notification to the user. In this case, because you're scanning it at the point of sale in a brick-and-mortar store, it would make sense to show this card to the user when the user is in the vicinity of the physical store. So what we can do here is essentially add a geofencing feature, which then shows the push notification if the user is near the store. The next type is a store card, which is pretty similar, but more like a loyalty card. So again, you buy something, you scan it with your purchase, and then you can collect points or whatever the store card offers. On this type of cards, we can also show the same push notification as for the card before. Another type is the event ticket. Next to the boarding passes, I think this is the most interesting one, because we could, well, make our entry ticket to this conference digital, and it would have some nice benefits. But we can also use it for concerts, for the cinema, and it would contain all the relevant information. Then the last type is a generic pass. Well, in case nothing fits from the well, previously mentioned categories. In this case, it's, for example, a gym membership card. And similar to our physical tickets, the digital ones also have a backside. On the backside, we can, for example, share those cards or passes if it makes sense. We can, interestingly enough, connect a real application to it. So if you have a My Media World club card and you add it to your Apple Wallet, you would see the Media World application there. Then we can also remove the pass, of course, add some generic information to it, and also show a bunch more information on the backside, which you can virtually freely well, maintain for your cards. There are a bunch more interesting things on the backside, though. We can, for concert tickets, for example, link to Apple Music, so we can actually show the songs the artist is performing. And now comes the most interesting thing for conventions like the Droidcon. We could actually also add Wi-Fi information and then connect to the Wi-Fi via the pass. Another interesting fact is that we can also do automatic enabling of the Do Not Disturb mode. Imagine concert tickets or cinema tickets. So you go to the event, your phone automatically turns on the Do Not Disturb mode. Then you, well, without disturbance, listen to the event. Then you go out and you're back to your normal, well, not enabled Do Not Disturb mode. However, it's not all gold. There are also some downsides. So most things are Apple only, but it also works with Google Wallet, but not all the features. And more importantly, it also works with Flutter apps. And, well, this is a Flutter talk, so that was kind of a given, I think. Next up, some exemplary applications, which are a bit more elaborate than the well, simple cards I've shown before. So this is my favorite example of the whole framework. We can create digital stamp cards with the PassKit framework. And essentially it works like this. So again, you go to a store somewhere where you can collect stamps. You can, when you purchase something, scan the QR code. Then the POS system sends an update to your server. The server knows, well, the customer purchased something, and then sends out an update notification to Apple Wallet. And then Apple Wallet automatically updates the card. And that's how the image changes then from, well, 1 present or 3 burgers to 2 presents or 4 burgers, for example. And the very interesting thing about this is, if you make it digital, you can collect way more advanced analytics and business intelligence. So before you had those paper thingies, but you can't really count how many are used by your customers. But with the digital ones, you know exactly how many there are because they're generated by your servers. And you also know how many customers have how many stamps collected. So you know exactly how effective your stamp card campaigns are. And you also know then your most loyal customers. Another pretty interesting application is the code check claim tickets. You know those fiddly paper thingies we got at the entrance for our codes. Here the benefit is that we can make the lost and found process much easier. We can essentially connect those tickets to user accounts. And due to that, if the user forgets it here at the convention could actually reach out to the customer or the visitor to remind him, hey, you forgot something here. Also, in the case something was forgotten, stolen, or lost, we can also make that easier because we know which people actually got their codes when they left. We can say, well, those obviously haven't forgotten anything, so we can only reach out to those who haven't checked out their stuff. Also, it's not as easy to lose those fiddly paper thingies because you have it on your phone. Another interesting application is pickup tickets. So, well, even though this is for MediaMarkt, at MediaWorld too, you can order something online and then pick it up at the store. In the past, you pretty much always, at least in Germany, I'm not sure how it was done here in Italy, you had to print out a paper, bring it to the store, and that was your authorization to get what you ordered online. But with the PassKit framework, you can do it digitally and, well, just show your phone. And again, here we can add the location with geofencing features to also let the user know where to pick it up. I'm guessing you already know where you want to pick it up, but just in case we can add it too. And we can also do it for food pickups or pretty much any other pickup there is. Another interesting application is, for example, we could create an app to digitalize, well, otherwise physical tickets that don't yet have the developer create a digital version. And we could, with the app, make a photo, do some optical character recognition, and maybe sprinkle some AI in it, and then create a digital representation of it. Awesome. So, a brief recap what we've learned so far. We did take a brief look at Apple Wallet and what the PassKit framework is, the types of passes, that they have a backside for management and other data, and that we can digitalize all kinds of previously physical things. Okay, so that was the pretty pictures part, and now we're coming to the pretty code side of things, or the technical side of things. The whole PassKit framework that I wrote for Dart and Flutter is split into 3 parts. The first one is the PassKit package, which is essentially the heart of it all, which reads and writes the so-called PkPass files. And it's pure Dart, so you can use it in the app and also on Dart server. The next one is Apple PassKit, which allows you to interop between Flutter and the iOS APIs, and obviously it's iOS only. And the last library is PassKit UI, which allows you to show the PassKit files in pure Dart and Flutter application. So it works on all platforms, whether it's web, desktop, or Android. Okay, now that we know that I've talked briefly about the PkPass files, what actually is a PkPass file? So this is the file that we send to Apple Wallet. It's essentially a zip file with the file ending renamed to PkPass. It contains a bunch of different files. The first 2 are the manifest.json and the signature, which prohibit the tampering with the pass because each pass gets signed, so that no malicious actor is tampering with the file. And well, if it's for an expensive concert ticket, for example, we want to make sure that the file is actually from an authorized seller and not, well, some, I don't know, pirated thingy that's not actually valid. Then we have the pass.json file in it, which contains all the information of the front and the backside of the pass, a couple of images to well, change what's shown on the passes. And if you really want to, you can also localize it, even though I've never seen a localized pass in, well, practice. Okay, so how do we create the pass? It's a lot of code to configure that pass. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying to configure those. However, all this code, when added to the Apple Wallet, well, kind of looks like this. I don't really want to explain all the code, so I just picked 2 examples. And yeah, so the first one is colors. We can change the color of the pass to make it look differently. So now we have a mostly white pass, which, well, fits the Flutter theme, but we can also make it completely blue, basically invert the colors. So we go from white to blue and also invert the text colors. The next example is the barcode. Right now we have a QR code, but we can also show, for example, a PDF 470 barcode. Well, and as we saw, well, designing a pass is a lot of trial and error, and previously to design a pass you essentially had to create the pass, send it to your device, add it to Apple Wallet to see how it looks like. And now with the software packages I've written, you can actually create something like a what you see is what you get editor, so that you, well, have an easier way to design those PkPass files. That works especially well with Flutter's hot reload feature. Cool. So after we created a PkPass file, we need to sign the pass so that no one's tampering or fake a pass. That also allows us to verify that the pass is actually coming from us and not from someone else. You can kind of imagine it similar to the signing of iOS and Android applications, where also with the signing you make sure that it's actually from you and not from someone else. And this is also checked by Apple whenever you update a pass, that it's still from you and not like one other third-party PkPass file. And And the signing process essentially works by getting a certificate, which you have to get from the Apple developer portal. And then you also get a private key. You have to read those as strings and pass it to this write method. And then you execute it, and you get the binary file at the end, which you can then distribute to your users. It's very important to make sure that we only sign the pass on the server. I've seen people being tempted to do that all client-side, but well, if you distribute those keys within your app, you can allow malicious people to recover those via reverse engineering, so please don't do that. Also make sure that you keep those files private, ideally also from other developers, so that only the server has access to it. And also always make sure that you verify the data before writing and signing the pass. So don't just take, I don't know, whatever information from endpoint on your server and write it straight away to a pass. Please make sure that you verify the data. Now that we know how we create a pass, we also, of course, want to add it to the Apple Wallet of the user, or on Android to Google Wallet. But we're focusing here only on the iOS side of things. First of all, we have to make sure that we check whether the Apple Wallet functionality is actually available. That's important because you can also compile iPad applications for macOS, and on macOS, Apple Wallet is not available. So that's why you have to check that. Then you again have to check whether you can actually add passes. This is due to parental control features or mobile device management on company phones. Those two things can restrict access to Apple Wallet, which means you can't add it to the Apple Wallet. When both of those things are true, we can actually, finally add the pass to the user's wallet. Yeah, that's it to that. Then we can also get a list of already added passes from Apple Wallet. Here we also have, again, to check whether we can actually do that. And we can also check that for a specific pass, again, after checking whether we can actually do that. But why is this useful? So in the Media World application, we have two features, which is on the left side, a list of coupons. Some of those coupons can be added to the user's Apple Wallet. And on the right side, we have the club card, which also can be added to the Apple Wallet. And here we can actually check, well, did the user add all of those coupons to their wallet? And if they have done so, we can hide them in the application or hide them in another tab, for example, so that the user only sees those coupons which most likely are the ones the user hasn't seen yet. And for the club card, we can then hide the Add to Wallet button and instead show, well, you already have added to your wallet, so that we don't guide the user out of the application, but instead keep the user in the application, which can increase engagement because we don't lead the user out of the application. Yeah, so then PassKit also has a web service included. This is an optional feature, but this enables Apple Wallet to keep the passes up to date. You have to provide a server implementation for that, but this web service works with Apple Wallet or with the PassKit libraries that I've shown before. So you can use it for both, but just have to implement one web service on the server. And this web service is essentially made out of 4 endpoints. So the first one is to register the client for push notifications. Then we have another one for deregistration for push notifications for a client. The next one is to get a list of all updatable passes for this user or device, and also to get the latest version of a specific pass. Unfortunately, there's no ready-made package for that, because it very much depends on your application and business logic, so it's not really possible to provide a ready-made solution here. Also, in the Dart ecosystem, there are 3 very popular frameworks to create servers, so providing one solution for each of those is a lot of work. The popular ones are Shelf, which is made by the Dart team, Dart Frog, which is from Very Good Ventures, but mostly just a wrapper around Shelf, and then the last one is Serverpod, which is actually made by an ex-Flutter team member. I believe that to be the most feature-complete Dart server framework out there. However, for Shelf, I have some code examples online. They're incomplete, but they're a very good starting point if you're interested in that. Then we also, of course, want to take a brief look into how we actually show a pass in Flutter. It's pretty easy. We just load a PkPass file and then hand it over to the PkPass widget. And then it looks something like this. And then my last slide is pretty much about best practices. So please make sure that you fill in as much of the fields for the passes as possible, because that makes them very functional and very complete. You see all the you make sure that the user sees all the relevant information, that he gets push notification for relevant activities. Also, again, please make sure that you validate all of the data you're writing into passes, because it's cryptographically signed. So if the data would be wrong or misleading or whatever, that would be really bad. Also, always please make sure that you sign the passes and check whether passes you receive are properly signed, especially if you're dealing only in Dart code with those passes. And then the last one is, please make sure that you keep the certificates for signing those passes private and only on the server, not on the client side. Okay, that's it already from me. Thank you very much. If you scan the QR code, I've linked all the relevant packages and information. And also, it's a brief questionnaire about the presentation. And I would appreciate if you can fill it out. Thanks.